And well, so tell me about how you started to evolve into this direction.
Well, I think the biggest thing, and I didn't know this for probably 15 years, but I attribute it to leaving the United States on a trip to Europe in
Okay.
1981 and getting out of the emotional field, the group mind of the US, and going to a different culture and a different country. When I came back, I had a perspective that I don't think I ever could have had if I'd always stayed in the US in this group mind.
So you
But I-
sounds like you spent a certain amount of extended period of time then traveling.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, and during those 3 weeks, what was the tipping point?
It may have been serendipitously where we were in Portugal, and we were in northern Portugal, which is really very primitive, and really without intention we ended up being at Fatima, which is the place of the sighting of the Virgin Mary,
Correct.
on the anniversary of the sighting, and so we were there with all the pilgrims. And like I said, Dave, I didn't know this at the time, but when I came back, suddenly different doors opened. Doors that I had no idea, I'd never even thought about. And within probably 4 or 5 months of coming back, I was introduced to an option with this woman from San Francisco, Effie Poyo Chow, who was a nurse and a practitioner of Eastern medicine. And she was a roommate in nursing school of Helen Nelson, Van Kirk Nelson, the doctor's wife. And so she came up here and did a 6-month course in Chinese medicine, which I took. Like out of the blue. Here I am, just
So
a
you
farmer.
were mutually taking the same course?
Well, she was teaching it.
Okay, she was teaching and you were a student.
Right, I was, but here's the odd thing. It's like, so at the time I was a farmer and an artist. I was making my living also doing art. And
Now, what kind of art were you doing?
working on pottery.
Okay, so you and Robert were doing pottery type stuff.
Well,
Okay.
he was making the pottery, but I had my own sort of line of stuff that I was doing. Carving on porcelain. And,
Uh-huh.
but out of all the people that took this 6-month course, most of them were nurses from around the whole state and out of state. And then 2 of us were artists. And this delightful old woman, Jeannie Hamilton, who I had all of these really amazing links with, like she did my portrait when I was a little girl,
Oh, okay.
when she lived in California. And then I ran into her again,
In
and we became
Kalispell.
very close friends in Kalispell.
Right.
But, so then, here I am, a farmer and an artist, and suddenly I take this course in Chinese medicine, and I'm introduced to all these new concepts. And within probably 6 months or so, I started teaching Tai Chi, which was what we were taught to use to clear our energy fields to be more effective healers. And I really couldn't do the healing part because we were supposed to work on like 2 new people every day. If I saw 2 people in a week, that was unusual. It was just Robert and me on our little farm.
Right.
But teaching Tai Chi was the first time I realized that I saw energy, because I could watch people and I could see where they weren't running their chi, their life force, through their entire body. And I didn't know that I could do that. I'd been teaching riding, horse riding, like in college, and I knew that I kind of knew when people were doing things right or wrong, in terms of their balance, but I didn't know how I knew. But it was teaching Tai Chi that I sort of woke up to what I did that maybe a lot of people didn't do.
Wow.
And then from that, I got involved actually with a medium, a person who taught psychic classes,
Okay.
and really worked with several teachers for probably 15 years and learned to hone my reading skills, that ability that I had to see energy.
To develop the internal abilities?
Well, you could say, and external, in that I really got accurate feedback. Like, we would read strangers, we'd have them come into class and everyone would have to read the same person, but you'd get that feedback.
Right.
Like, am I reading accurately?
Right.
Is this the right thing? And I think that most of us are reading all the time, but very few of us get that feedback so that we can really trust our intuition and trust what we're really seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is some of the background that really made what I do with my counseling practice really different, because I'm not only listening to people talk, I'm watching how they run their energy. There's some clients that come and I would say our souls are talking. They walk in the door and their soul gives me pictures. Sometimes pictures, sometimes just like a download of information. And that's working on a really profound level. Mm-hmm. Not every client can do that, but the ones who come, often they're coming for more spiritual advancement than just, I'm depressed.
Right.
They've done a lot of work on themselves, but they're stuck in their core, what I call core karma, just the entanglement that we all have that we have to unwind, that's part of the puzzle for this lifetime.
Right.
It's part of the juiciness.
That's right. It's life.
And even our own personal juiciness, like what's the puzzle that's ours to untangle? Mm-hmm. And if we don't make that wrong, like, oh my gosh, I have this problem. If we don't go into that framework, we more say, oh, this is my karma. This is my puzzle that I get to even have fun playing with and untangling. And being delighted when I find an edge that, oh, okay.
So, before we go further on that, so talk to me a little bit more about taking the Eastern class with the doctor from San Francisco or whatever, wherever she was from, and the Eastern medicine, and how that began to evolve into where you are right now. So basically, when you took that, did you go back to school then to get sort of the counseling thing, or how did that evolve?
Well, it was 10 years later that I went to graduate school.
Okay.
It was, it's easy to look at this stuff going backwards.
Yes.
To see there was quite an order to things.
Yes.
But I probably didn't discover this order until into 2000 something. That I look back and go, oh, look at how all of this worked.
So did the work that you had done after the Eastern School, did it just, everything sort of start to resonate with you, that you felt that was the direction that you should evolve towards, or did it just subconsciously start to work that way?
I think that there was just this very organic opening, you might say opening and blocking. I felt blocked in working with people hands-on, like the nurses were.
Right.
I didn't have access to the people. And actually at that point I was still a little, I want to say scared of people. I was a little shy of people. Especially growing up and seeing as much as I could see and not knowing how to really work with that. I got a little scared of people. That's why my undergraduate degree is in agriculture. I thought I could work with animals and not people.
You didn't want to open up the other doors. Yeah.
I was sort of too young and too inexperienced to work with people. And so my path, it was working with people, but not hands-on, really close touching. It was Tai Chi.
Okay.